Thank you all for coming. You are actually many, many people. It makes me really happy to see that everyone wanted to see Amalia's performance tonight. My name is Marie, I work at Kunsthalle, and Amalia Ulman is performing tonight on the occasion of the exhibition The Future of Memory, which is on show at Kunsthalle Wien on the bottom ground floor. And we also have a show of Pierre Bismuth in the upper floor. I hope you all had a chance to see, especially The Future of Memory. If you didn't, then you're welcome to come back anytime, beginning tomorrow. So now I want to welcome Amalia, and thank you very much for being here tonight.
Hello? Hello. Do we start this? My name is Amalia Ulman, and I'm an artist. In my practice, I observe social discrimination, class divide, and power structures. A crack in the screen hurts more than a bruise in my arm because the camera is a gun and a gun is an arm. A weapon is an extension of the human body, and the lens is as violent as the blade. Images as bullets, or needles, or pushpins that delicately hold half-truths on a cork notice board. Bodies can crumble, perish, disappoint us, promote us. Bodies represent who we are, what our history is. Where do we come from? We can't escape our bodies. Bodies are suitcases for our consciousness, but who's this suitcase by? What designer? What label? It could be a Mulberry or a Kelly or a Vuitton or a Vans backpack or a Tesco plastic bag or a Zara tote. But no. Actually, what we cannot escape from is the instantaneity of the digital representation of ourselves. We can abandon our bodies and let our organs be held by a screen. We can abandon our lives and let go in the immersive fictional constructions of our timeless. A global community of emotions. Bodies. Bodies sometimes say too much, but bodies can also deceive, confuse us, disappoint us, misguide us. We can also manipulate our bodies, mostly through one single strategy: money. Images. Images sometimes say too much, but images can also deceive, confuse us, disappoint us, misguide us. We can also manipulate our images, mostly through one single strategy: money. How do we market this two-dimensional flesh? How do we price this digital meat? How long will it stay fresh for? We have left acceleration of history and entered acceleration of reality. Self-image as investment. Neoliberalism requires hardcore liquidity, ultimate mobility, available 24/7, but also in a constant state of shapeshift. Heaven is being able to say no. Paradise is a minimum wage. Live feed destabilizes human interactions and the time reserved for reflection in favor of responses produced by emotion. An emotional dictatorship, a dictatorship of tears, a system of likes and trolls. New sincerity, because in a networked world, the question of authenticity can no longer be posed. Posing, post-authentic. Crying is pointless if you can't be seen crying. Pixel, it didn't happen. Without authenticity as a defense, nothing is worth protecting from commodification. Without authenticity as a defense, everything will be an object for commerce. Under an imposed adaptability, our real selves must be infinitely malleable, like Ariana Grande's face, like Kim Kardashian's us. We humans are not just entitled to one faux natural self, but to many of them, and to perform them in a very natural way. We are all entertainers, and the audience is ourselves. In a system where mass individualism is the law, our bodies become the ultimate commercial strategy. And as generators of content, we must constantly morph. This new regime for the adaptabilities of the flesh is a system of pills, injections, fillers, gels, liquids, transfers. A system of semi-transparent manipulations help us resemble our Photoshop selves more naturally, to be generally better looking, for the sake of no filter. No filter, I woke up like this, and the new acne selfie trend, signifiers of genuineness. The elaborate efforts to hide the labor behind the long process of fabrication, indulging in the idea of effortlessness to hide the traces of self-improvement. Social mobility hides in the background of your selfies, the interior design of the room you're taking your pictures at, And that's why the 5-star hotel, the expensive restaurant, and the holiday today, more than ever, function as the ultimate fashionable accessory, the ultimate signifier of class. You could always fake it, but faking requires labor, and labor is time, and time is money. Work is play, work is enjoyable. The feminization of labor. Like housewives, our productivity comes out of love, no remuneration required. Labor of like. So we've all become tourists, and that's why our office is a Starbucks. A fusion will take place between mass exiles and tourism. Tourists are starting to become the immigrants of the iPhone inertia, and their capital is the image. We carry the city with us. We carry work within us. The only solution is the illusion of movement, as we cannot escape ourselves. Jet set lifestyle for everyone. Even when you show it all, you reveal very little. A full immersion in a screen reality, redemption to the gaze, is to escape from one's responsibilities as a three-dimensional human being. The fantasy of becoming an image with the side effects derived from it is similar to the consumption of opium in the sense that it liberates us from our obligations temporarily, even though the consequences are devastating. As a flattened image, identity will cease to be a burdensome responsibility. Showing all is the best way to reveal nothing. Is it possible to be genuine in social media? All your voting photographs tell me the opposite. Your tedium is an absolute fabrication. How easy it is to manipulate the audience's perception? Is credibility an asset? Is credibility a work of art? How much of a con artist is a good artist? Humans tend to believe whatever they've been programmed to believe. A series of stereotypes that are good enough for a fiction to be legitimate, to function as a potential truth, because it is convenient, because we've seen it before, because, again, ideology. Images distributed on the media and the superficial layer of the net are a guideline on how to behave, what to like, what to desire. Again, ideology. Social media is a guideline for the normal. We are constantly invigilated because we might be potential deviant, but because we might help summing up the statistics for the norm. We'd excuse ourselves from the sin of wanting to please by using the I do it for me argument, where me is imagined as a pure and precious inner space untouched by external values and demands. But isn't this me overdetermined by a larger neoliberal structure that makes self-improvement seem the only option for psychological survival in the world hostile to human bodies? Normalization via coercion. When you repeat a lie, it becomes a truth, and a fake truth generated through images has more validity than a verbalized genuine truth. Are images more powerful than words? As much as it's hard to escape from the cosmetic gaze, getaway is a possibility, because the gaze is a cultural construction. We live in the electronic economy of looking good. But the good news are, if humans' perception is so malleable and the tools and distribution of media and images have now been decentralized, it's in everyone's hand to destroy archetypes. It's in our hands to bring the queer into mainstream narratives. Only through the theatricalization of normality we will have the collective experience of constructed dimensions of our realities. Only then we'd be able to stop the regularized and constrained repetition of norms. Let's find a way between norm and improvisation, between repetition and invention. Spreading this belief by emphasizing images construction. It is not about bringing more truth into the public sphere, but more about the awareness of tactics. This will orient us towards seeing the real in the effort one puts towards faking something, liberating that something from being assessed in terms of legitimacy. Our bodies under representation constitute political laboratories, which could potentially function as spaces for political agency. It seems urgent today to use our images as socio-political platforms to test different cultural identities for further discourses of gender, sexual, racial, and somatic political minorities. Ideas aren't enough. A new credibility must be built, earned over time. Instant confidence, like instant faith, doesn't work. If we can make our own porn, we can make our own romantic comedies too. Thank you. Well, now I'm gonna pretend to be Mary. Where's Mary? Oh, okay. So I was wondering, what should we do now? Like finish watching the video? Okay, I'll wait for them. This kiss is for you. Thanks for following.
Thanks, Amalia. You see, I have another microphone here. So now we're going to open up the round for a couple of questions. Amalia will be standing in the front here, and we have 2 microphones. So maybe to start it off, would you like to tell us a little bit more about excellences and perfections? Because I assume that not everyone here is familiar with the piece. Are you?
Hi again. So, yeah, Excellence and Perfections was a sort of performance. I kind of don't like calling it a piece of art or anything. I always saw it more as an experiment that took place while I was working on other shows and essays. But it's mostly about manipulating and destroying my online persona in purpose. I was getting slightly disgusted of all the hidden value in all my images, even though they were kind of like, low-key or whatever, indie, whatever you want to call it. But there's obviously all these hidden messages and value in like every single image you upload to social media, and authenticity doesn't really exist. So the idea was to play with an exaggerated version of that, like working on a script and a series of photographs that would take over my personal Instagram and Facebook during a period of 3 or 4 months. I chose that period of time because that's what is used in the TV program The Swan for an absolute transformation of a character involving plastic surgeries and also some psychological guidance, etc. So what I was trying to do, it's like the performance really worked in a few different levels. One of them was to point out the labor hidden in the fabrication of femininity and how it's not something that is given naturally and how it's something that is worked on. And it's something yet you can see through the theatricalization of all these characters, but pointing that, like, all of us, we could transform into any of these with like a certain amount of work, which is what all of these girls in Instagram do. None of them were born doing that. But the problem is that it's something that is, as femininity is something that is always taken for granted. But I think that it was important to be playful with that, just to point out how everyone could do it. And it's nothing directly related to biology. On the other hand, it was also a play on the stereotypes, because if you take a look at the images, I didn't get as much funding to do all of this as I wanted, so that ended with a series of images that weren't that amazing, or that that perfect, that you couldn't even blame people for being like, well, of course I'm gonna believe that if it looks so proper. But the thing is that if you look at them closely, for example, of the surgery pictures, etc., they're all appropriated from different women. Most of pictures, you can look them up online, they're from other Tumblrs, from sugar babies. So it's really easy to see that it's a fake. But the problem is that people really wanted to believe it was true. And also because there were all the stereotypes that everyone has seen before in films and mainstream narratives, people just thought that was it. Because we were so used to seeing this narrative of the provincial girl that moves to the big city, etc., breaks up with a high school sweetheart and becomes a sugar baby, drugs, etc., prostitution, boob job. Oh, so sad. Like she goes to rehab and goes with the family. And I didn't even have to explain that in text. Just by showing some images, people were just like, "Oh yeah, of course, this is this is real," just because I've seen it before. But in my case, everything was very difficult to create, especially the most normal episode, which is episode 3, because that normality is really not what I come from. So, for example, the baby I'm posing with is a baby like just a random baby. It's like not related to me whatsoever, and that was one of the most difficult things I found was to get a baby for the photograph, because all my family is in another country, so I don't have access to children. Or nice houses, or things like that. So, but that was funny how many people took for granted that that was true, because that was the easiest thing to take for granted. But yeah, I don't know what else to say. Aside from remarking that I didn't really see it as a aesthetic exercise, in the sense that I don't see it as one of my works specifically, because I do have an art practice, and I did have shows while I was doing this, which was kind of tricky because many people were freaking out, telling me to stop doing this, because obviously I was losing credibility by behaving like this, like my essays were of less value, etc. And that was also very revealing to see what is a female artist supposed to behave or look like, or how far can you go, and it was very interesting, especially seeing the reactions of the plastic surgery. That was very shocking and kind of sad, because I really expected people to slam me and tell me you're an idiot, what are you doing, or whatever. But surprisingly, everyone was really up for it. People were saying that were praying for me. Then all these women from the art world that I found really shocking was in private messages they would ask me about the procedure and like doctors, etc. And that for me was kind of sad, because I think that in mainstream culture women are subjected to the gaze, but more freely are allowed to subject themselves to these sort of things, whereas I think the art world is way more contrived in that sense, and women are still subjected to the gaze, but not allowed to do these things openly. And that was really shocking to receive all these messages and all these insecurities and everything. And another thing that was fascinating was after the breakdown, I posted after 2 weeks of no activity, because I was supposedly in a rehab facility or something like that. I posted an apology, and that was pretty insane. That got so many likes, and people were like, "Oh, it's okay, it's fine. I'm glad you stopped being a whore. Like it's fine." And people that weren't participating whatsoever in the previous episodes, and people that haven't even spoken to me in 5 years. So obviously all these people were following in silence and then they only came up when I apologize, when redemption happens, which is also very illuminating to see how people were expecting that apology or really needed that, or I don't know. That was very kind of disgusting in a way. No, I'm gonna show this. Oh, nice working.
Hat jemand schon eine Frage? Does anybody want to answer that? I try. Oh, sorry. Does anybody have a question?
No?
No.
Okay. You? Okay.
As I have understood. Oh. is it working? As I've understood it, that was your real Facebook account with your name.
Yeah, that was very important. That
mm-hmm.
I slowly started with an aesthetic that was slightly similar to my own taste.
Okay.
So to gradually start moving, so people didn't know that it was obviously a fake or anything. So I did use my own name, and I was isolated for that period of time, so people couldn't see me IRL, and that helped.
Okay, so it was like a metamorphosis or something
of
your personality. But my question is, what did you think of the people that followed you, that liked, and did you think like, what did you think of the audience, that they took it for granted? And
that was very interesting because the type of followers of each episodes changed really fast, which it took me really by surprise. Like, for example, after 1 week of the first episode, a photographer from LA approached me to do a photo shoot in that character, super fast. After 2 weeks of posting that sort of aesthetic, after the second episode, after just 1 week of that vibe, a rapper sent me a message to be in his video clip. Like, it was so fast. It was hyper accelerated. It seemed like people wouldn't even look at what was previously there because it was all about the now, and that's something that it's really changes the form, because one of the main points of the whole thing was the rhythm of it and the repetition. And it's different to see it right now from in perspective, and it's like it looks different. But I think it was like that repetition, that staying there, because people wouldn't even look at the pictures twice. They would like look at them once, they stay in their brain, and they like create this map of this narrative, you know? And that changed everything, yeah. Should I show this?
So I have the idea to create a new self of myself, out of myself. I have an account on Facebook. And what is your proposal? So in what time I can change completely myself and my attitude and my reputation from outside?
Yes.
Is it possible? If you look at me?
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, that's like many people just do it for real. I mean, that was the point. I did it as a scripted thing. Everything was planned beforehand. But this is something. I mean, you have to bear in mind that right now, Facebook and social media in general is an asset, and it has capital and a value in everything you post and what you said and everything. So many people do use it like that. And there's many girls that I know of, the non-artists, that they would go take their selfies in a hotel because it looks nicer, and then you have your picture, instead of being in some ghetto apartment, working class vibe, you have like a luxury hotel or on a holiday or whatever. And I think that's also why many girls also fall into the trap of being sugar babies. Because not only because of the cash you would get for it, but also because of the photo opportunities. Because those photo opportunities are status in a way. So yeah, anyone can do it, and many people just already do it. There's a case right now in Spain that came out recently of this actress. Everyone's laughing at her right now, which is really sad. But there's this actress that was in a slightly famous TV program in Spain, and she, in her Instagram, uploaded some Photoshop images of herself with the crew of Big Bang Theory. And then she went to some TV shows being like, oh yeah, they're amazing, they're like such nice people, and all of that was fake. And she just Photoshopped her face on this other girl's face, and they just found out recently, and obviously they're just doing Photoshop of herself with Obama, with the King of Spain, etc. And that's like an extreme and kind of stupid case, because this girl obviously, it's pretty badly done to do that. Very easy to find out. But many people just do it in other ways. So And then there's the whole thing of the catfish, which is, making yourself look on social media differently than you are, and then being a disappointment.
So what would be your proposal
for you? Just
for migrating myself, my present self,
whatever
into a
you
future self,
do,
in a better self, in a more sexier self, in a more renowned self. Choosing a topic in the world of
I think whatever you do,
focusing on one thing, or
it's
finding my mission.
being cohesive and repetition. I think repetition, because that's how social media works. It's like a little bits every day. So I think that consistency is what creates the character, that gives the character like some genuinity. Just by posting every day, or like being there in like a same kind of style, then you just start generating this persona. And that's, yeah.
I got some ideas. I have to go to work now.
Thanks. So you're mentioning that this is, or I think many of us know that no cases of people who do exactly that, who fake their identity online. Do you think once there's some kind of consciousness that the images that you're looking at on Facebook, on social media are produced, do you think that that is going to have some kind of different effect? What would you say, or is there going to be ignorance is bliss kind of attitude towards it?
Well, no, I think it'll get to a point where people are conscious of how fabricated these images are, and change a little bit of your relation towards them, which is very similar to the relation we have to cinema, for example. You watch a film and it's fake, and you know it, and it's fine. You know, you don't expect it to be true, and you're like, yeah, well, this is special effects and everything. That's and the same, for example, for women with Photoshop images in magazines. Yeah, you know that. Like, you know, sometimes they have like a ridiculous, like tiny waist or very skinny arms, and you're like, hey, it's Photoshop. Like, you know, like you already learned that. The problem right now with that is that it's what is taken for granted is that all the images that have been posted on social media, whatever, especially if they look kind of like they're kind of iPhone looking, is that they're not manipulated. I mean, they can be flattering, you know, but not like Photoshop or whatever. But they are. And the most crazy thing is that there's some models, for example, Miranda Kerr, her personal Instagram, it has insane loads amounts of Photoshop images of herself. And mostly to make her waist look more like small. And I found really between upsetting and unnerving, because I'm all about, it's totally fine for me, like if you want to Photoshop whatever you want, but in that case, when it's taken for granted that it's not, that, for example, is very damaging for all the teenagers, pro-Ana girls that follow her, you know, because she's already a model, like she's hot already. She doesn't need to make her waist smaller to seem more unreal and make girls even more insecure. Like, she didn't, you know, she already looks like a model in her photographs. And that I found kind of extreme. Although, if people knew about it, the same way they know about, you know, printed media and magazines, etc., I think it would be less damaging, because we already know that all of this is a fiction. And you can be a fiction as well. And you can upload a picture like, oh, I look kind of, you know, I'm going to Photoshop here and there. But you're conscious of it, instead of torturing yourself thinking that all these images are all these candid shots and stuff. Also very recently, Beyonce uploaded some ridiculous images of herself playing golf. She's known for like the booty and everything, and that's fine. That's what she is. And these pictures of herself playing golf, she has a thigh gap this big in between her legs, which is unreal and looks creepy as fuck. And it's supposed to be a candid photograph that is not photoshopped. And that, for all the girls with body dysmorphia and everything, not knowing that these images are played with, it's kind of, I don't know, I feel kind of uncomfortable with that.
So I just wondered, when you started to kind of construct this persona of yours, did you at the beginning already know how it was going to end? Because I kind of have a hard time. I mean, obviously you could have this could have gone like forever, but then again it couldn't, because I have a hard time, imagining this persona, growing old, for example. Or since you say, I mean, the point is repetition, I just wonder, I mean, how far could have you gone? I mean, could this have gone on for 20 years? Or?
Well, no, I mean, that's something I expect to do with myself, for example. But I know in the case of this character, is definitely a girl. Is the girl par excellence. It's not a woman, and that was, that's why it can't grow old. But that's like also the idea of the girl that is in the media. Like, it doesn't grow old; it just gets replaced. Like, there's no, you get to your 30s and start again. Like, there's no continuity. So I think that was the point of this one as well, and it was more also the story of like a mockery on romantic comedies as well, because it starts with a boyfriend and a breakup, and then there's also a man is involved, and then at the end she gets saved more or less because there's a boyfriend again, and it's like this idea of like that I'm really against that single women are these ridiculous creature that is so sad, and he's like, oh, she's single, and you're all in salvation. He's like, find a man, and etc., etc. Which I think it's so damaging for women, and it's so embedded in our culture that it's crazy. Like, it doesn't matter how good a woman feels by herself, that she will end up feeling like shit because of this structure that it makes you feel like that, because of not constraining yourself to certain rules and expectations. But yeah, everything was done from the beginning, scripted. Yeah.
Could you say something to the color scheme and why you chose it, or was it hard to keep it going, or could you have thought of, or did you have different options, or?
The color scheme is important. I'm really picky with color schemes, but I think it was also. I mean, obviously, I'm an artist, so like I like playing with that. But each episode has a different tonality to it that I think in the moment you wouldn't be able to really see it, but you can see it when you hover over them and you see the 3 episodes, and then they change a lot. The first one is super pink, and it's like very Tumblr, bruises, anime stuff. The second one is more golden, and the third one is more like just white and gray and pale and stuff. So everything was kind of curated into this. And for example, for the second episode, I would use always there was 2 filters that I would use all the time to kind of unify that continuity. Yeah.
I'm just wondering about your relationship to this alter ego that you created. Like, I mean, it still was your body, and it were still your pictures. Were you flattered when you got a lot of likes or positive
no, because
comments?
Actually, it wasn't really me. Like, those pictures of me, I don't like really. Like, for example, the ones of that photo shoot I did in LA. I really don't like them. I mean, they look amazing as like a thing, but like I don't like them. I don't see myself reflected in them, so I don't. And I remember my mom did this weird altar on the fridge with a picture of me. It was one of those ones, and I was like, "Why? Like, that's not me. Like, why do you make an altar with that picture specifically? Fuck you! Like, I never looked like that." And then, in terms of body, I did train for the second episode a little bit. Like, I went to pole dancing lessons because I'm really bad at dancing, as you can obviously see. And also, I had a horrible accident, and my legs are like destroyed. So like, I don't have much mobility to like dance. But then like everything else is like, I don't know, padded bras and like good angles and things, like, so like I really didn't get a boost of like the likes, like as a personal thing, because it's such a detached, fabricated image that is not. I don't see myself in it. I probably get more of a high on a picture that I think it's more me and I like and has like 2 likes, but because it feels like, oh, it's me, like that photo. This really felt like. Yeah, it was so fabricated and so photoshopped that it wasn't really me anymore. So, yeah, didn't have that problem. Something else? Something else? No? Okay. Should I show this, or I don't know if it's of interest now? Okay. Yeah, this is really not about. I'm gonna try to squat if I can. Yeah, this is a presentation of my works, or mostly, some of them are the works I was, like things I was working on while the performance was taking place. So this is a whole body of work that I started with this essay titled By a Walker Rover. It's about creating all these patterns through Chinese imports and all the messages hidden in them. And it was a lot about walking and seeing things while walking. I didn't realize at the time, but it was, if you're familiar to Walter Benjamin's Arcades, it's very similar in that sense, like a contemporary one, because I was a very kind of low point of my life economically. I was kind of trapped in my hometown. Thank you. In Spain, like I grew up in a very small city, and it's kind of shitty, especially at the time it was a recession, so like so many stores were closed, like no one in the streets. But the only thing that did connect me to the rest of the world was these Chinese stores, because I could see exactly the same objects that I had seen in dollar stores in LA, in Poundlands, in London, in Berlin, etc. So I started like creating this archive and photographs, and this is the first essay, and it has this aesthetic like this. Then this is one solo show that took place in Geneva that I had to organize online because I was in hospital at the time, and all these stickers are, I would say, it's like an accident of overproduction of these stickers that were supposed to be a thing for interior design, but it never happened. So if you look online on eBay and stuff, there's a lot of them. And what I find interesting is that there's this idea of what a Western family or Western values are from a very Asian perspective. So it's all about these family rules and like love and marriage and heteronormative, like etc., which is like sounds very exaggerated. And yeah, there's like all these photographs that are slightly creepy, and they're supposed to be to decorate your own house. This is kind of like a continuation of that. It was a very big show, and it's also based around those trends that I could find in Chinese stores again. This, for example, was something that I started seeing slightly recently, which is this idea of Europe as a very elegant place and Victorian and wealthy, etc., which I found funny at the time because everything was going to shit in Europe. So that was kind of ironic. Then again, all these stickers here are appropriated. They are meant to be for decorating a house again, which is pretty insane. And then, so yeah, all these graphics were appropriated. Even this one here is appropriated from Dunkin' Donuts, but instead using keywords that are used to as adjectives for boobs and plastic surgery and etc. The same. This, I think, is one of the most personal works that I do, just like with enclosed cabinets. Sometimes they're like magnetized bags or corkboard, and they are really crafty. Like one of the only things that I don't get done or produced or anything, and they're like accumulation of things that I gather from stores and also from like sexual health clinics or doctors, or basically their function as a sort of diary for me. This is my last solo show in London, which consisted in a few different rooms. And it's called The Destruction of Experience. And it was, in general, like an exhibition of a calendar. So there were 12 prints. Each of them had all the pages. And there were different rooms and different environments. It was this room here exhibited this video. And then there was a meditation area, there was a smell, and there was a cacophony of sounds. This video is a little bit of a continuation of that the other video essay that I showed. And it's basically about Justin Bieber's forehead. Because I don't know if you had paid attention to him in all the pictures since he started puberty a few years ago. He does this. Like, he really like makes wrinkles in his forehead, and he started a trend between all these, I don't know, from 12 to 15-year-old boys to make themselves look older, I guess, and more masculine. So this is a fictional medical paper on how, as women start like erasing those signs of age with Botox at a very early age, because now they start with like even when they're 21 to like not have any wrinkles at all these kids are like accentuating those forehead lines since they're like 12. So it was about how that becomes appropriated from women, even though it's a trait that both genders have. So women have the straight forehead and men have this very wrinkly forehead that is a signifier of experience and therefore manlyhood. And then this is my last show that took place in James Fuentes in New York City. And again, it had a smell, which I achieved with all these automatic fresheners and sound. But in this case, it was like a very immersive installation again, where all the walls were blacked out, and it was a very strange environment. And it was these giant wire sculptures that were made by hand. They were a copy of the series of sculptures that I used to make when I was in hospital, also before when I didn't have access to materials, because it's the cheapest way to produce figurative work. And it's something that ex-junkies and ex-convicts and Latin American immigrants do in Spain a lot, which is use these materials for the fabrication of figures. And that's it for now. I don't know what else to say.
Does anybody have another question now? Otherwise, I'd say thank you for. Oh. But if I use this microphone, Amalia doesn't.
I just wanted to ask a question regarding what people said to you, because obviously a lot of people took you seriously. And I remember when you did the boob job, there were comments saying, "Oh, you shouldn't do it. You're beautiful as you are," like validation comments. And the reactions you got, were people angry with you for letting them on and like having a fake profile? Was that an issue?
To be honest, not really. That wasn't the real problem there. Like. The issue I had when I did the first talk at the ICA, which was like when I was like most like a revealing moment where like I sat down and I explained everything, was that people really needed genuinity to take it seriously, which is funny because people are so not used to fiction on social media that they looked for some sort of authenticity. Like, you weren't a sugar baby then, but you were at some point, so you have some experience and it's valuable, you know, because of that. Or, I don't know, like everything they needed to find some sort of like background check of being like, this is of value because at some point it did happen, or like your experience is something you actually lived. And that was really upsetting. That was something I was really against too, because if it's fiction, it's fiction, and that's it. There's no need for, you know, to look for any, legitimize history behind it. But yeah, like people getting upset, more like privately. No one really said anything like directly to me, like, oh, you lied to me or anything. But it was more like, how are you entitled to talk about blah blah if you didn't do it for real? That was mostly the thing that people had difficulties with. Something else? So is there a difference now that it's over? Well, no, it's still there. I just went. What I'm doing, for example, with my Facebook, before doing this whole thing, I do have an album of like thousands of photographs of iPhone photographs that I use for research, and there's mainly things, objects, and stuff that then it helps me to keep like an archive. And I stopped publishing that when I was doing the whole performance thing, but that didn't mean that I stopped taking photographs, because I do that all the time. So I kept this archive. So what I'm doing now, for example, is to upload everything naturally, naturally, with a 4-month delay, which is also very interesting to see in social media, because it disrupts a lot. To have all these series of images from an archive as if they were taken now is very disruptive. Because I would tag myself in those places, etc., and people always think like, I'm in New York in summer when I'm actually somewhere else in winter, you know, and people. It's funny because it doesn't matter how much I repeat this, that they're like uploaded with delay. People still message me like, "Oh, are you here? Let's hang out." And it's like, I have to repeat it again. And it's funny because, people tend to just see things and like take it for granted that is real. Yeah. So it's basically it's things that happen, but obviously with that distance, they change a lot, because there's this manipulative aspect to it. Because it's not so much the rush of the moment, or like, oh, I see this and I upload it. It's more like, oh, I have this archive, and today I decide to upload this once and pretend to be in this place or generate this vibe or things like that.
Maybe I have one last question to sort of connect the performance, or what you did, back to the exhibition upstairs. Regarding the virtual, do you at all, or how do you distinguish between a fictitious and a real reality? Is there even a real reality or categories such as?
Well, I mean, in this case, it was definitely a fiction, because it was something scripted beforehand and kind of separated from what I was living at the moment. So, everything was really staged. But when it comes to, maybe if you're referring to digital life, etc., I don't see a distinction. And I don't think people from my generation do see that distinction. For me, I do have a lot of memories of things that just happen online, or dream about people I've never met, and just because, there's this presence, I've seen their pictures and everything. And the other way around, I know I have online friends that have never met IRL, but have dreamt about me because of that presence, and that happens the same to me. So I do not see that distinction there, but it's tricky, because it's like a different reality in a way. It's surprisingly very textual and makes a lot of text and images. So in a way, it's sci-fi, but kind of like a very retro sci-fi.
Because based on information.
Yeah, because we haven't moved past that very basic way of communicating with each other. So that's funny. But yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for coming. Stay tuned for everything that's upcoming at Kunsthalle Wien and stop by again.
Thank you.